Here are 8 tips from a quality assurance engineer on how to visit your product's factory. Let's get straight into it. Number one is bring a clipboard. You have no idea until you do this how much status and aura this actually brings you to be sitting there and walking around, sitting, walking, whatever it is, around the factory with a clipboard. If you need something to put the clipboard on, I have a checklist that I'm going to be throwing in the Skool community. You could take all these lists, all these notes, and then have a checklist. Start checking stuff off as you go through. You have no idea how helpful that really is. Second tip is tell them what you want to see ahead of time. So generally the way I like to review factories is tell them how you want to follow the product throughout the factory. So tell them that you want to see when the materials come into the factory, you want to see how they're transported, how they're actually produced on the factory, and then how they leave the factory. That way you see the full product cycle, you know exactly how it goes down, and then you can see where there might be opportunities for improvements as well. The third tip is observe the operators. So obviously you want to look at the whole process. You want to look at, how the machines are running. Obviously it's always good to know how the manufacturing is done, because then when you look into new product design, you can think about, okay, this is how it's being manufactured. Here's how it's being made. How could I optimize the product design for manufacturing? But you also want to observe the operators. You want to see how well they know their position and everything. If somebody had to jump onto the line, what other info and work instructions are there for the operator? Are there certain operators that are looking really rushed and pressured to push items through, while some don't have as much pressure? That can be a telltale sign of where bottlenecks are going to form in the factory and where they're going to actually slow down on production as well. And maybe if you note that area, you can see later on. I threw up the quality triangle because this is the quality control. Once you're actually in the factories, this is quality control. When you go to the quality improvement and you're mentioning, hey, these are some returns, we're seeing it because this pencil wasn't sprayed right. And you can see that the person who's spraying it is pulling a lever to spray all of these, and they're going back and forth between a couple different stations. So sometimes the spray isn't right on time. That's a quality control issue in the factory. So if you see that later in the quality improvement and you're trying to figure out why these pencils aren't sprayed right, it can be a hint to why your quality control failed and how to improve it next time. Tip number 4 is ask about training. Ask about how they train these operators too, because not only is it good to know why and how the operators are working, what instructions they have, but if the instructions are the only thing that they have, you should be able to hop on that line and do it perfectly. Can you? There's also another thing where if it mentions, oh, we have this in-depth training, have them share the training with you. See what the people in the factory will see too, because it's always really helpful to get that background of what they're looking at. Tip number 5 is ask where most defects and reworks come from. So this can sometimes, you could see it when you observe the operators, but you really want to ask and wonder where those defects come from. Where in previous years have they come? How did they fix it? Ask to see the reject products. When they push it over to the side and their quality control rejects an item, ask to see that item. Ask to see how they rejected it, what stood out, what failed, and then it kind of can give you a better idea for when you start reviewing products to see where the quality improvement is. Maybe you could recognize a couple of these too. That is definitely an opportunity. You can also see a lot of, based on these defects and reworks, if you see that they mention, hey, we always have trouble with the spraying of these pencils. That's something later on that you can note down and you could say, all right, when we're doing our redesign, we're comfortable not spraying these pencils and maybe wrapping them. And maybe wrapping's easier. That's a conversation you could have with the factory. They have specialties in certain areas that they've been doing for a long time. You still want to make sure they're comfortable doing it, but you still want to have a good product as well. Tip number 6, measuring equipment. What equipment do they have? What tolerances do they have? Do they have go, no go checks? If you don't know what that is, there's sometimes like carved out, you can do carved out pieces of wood if you really want to. And it's a go, no go where, let's say you have pencils and they need a certain length or width, you're trying to check those. A go, no go will basically be a slot for the pencil to go in, and then it'll be a pre existing length, and the pencil has to fit in that perfectly. If it's too big, then it's out of tolerance. If it's too short, it's out of tolerance. If it's just the width and it's too thick, out of tolerance, won't fit. It's the same things for a go no go. It's really just how quickly can you check to see if a pencil fits, if it's the right size, or if the customer might be disappointed by them getting a shorter pencil than expected. Tip number 7 is ask questions a lot, a lot, a lot. When they mention any of these previous things, they mention, hey, where are your largest areas of returns? Where are some of the biggest defects? Why are you getting these defects? When they tell you, oh, we have this system, keep asking why. I have a different video on breaking down the 5 whys and how to analyze products using 5 whys. That can also be applied here. Keep asking why until you really get to the root cause. Because if they just say, oh yeah, this was out of tolerance. Okay, why was it out of tolerance? Do you guys not have measurement systems? Do you guys not have your go, no go checks? There are a lot of essential questions that you could ask just by probing the why question over and over too. Tip number 8, and this is a big one too. This is ask the production manager. This is exactly what I would ask them word for word. If you had the budget to fix one thing in the factory tomorrow, what would it be? And I'll repeat that. If you had the budget to fix one thing in your factory tomorrow, what would it be? This can help give you an idea of where those problem childs are, and maybe it's a really expensive item. Maybe it takes a long time, and that's why you mentioned if you had the budget, if cost wasn't a concern, and you could do it tomorrow. That's 2 things where money isn't a concern and time isn't a concern, but it would be super helpful for you. Ask what that is. That can really help with the same exact issues, the same exact questions from before. Where are your options? And maybe you could help the factory improve in that area some way, shape, or form. It's a really big question to ask, and you really want to ask that to the production manager. You don't want to ask that to anybody else. Maybe people on the line, sure, but the production manager who actually covers all of this, they know what's going to make things easier for them and what's going to make it harder, what area to focus on versus not focus on. So that's going to be the end. That's all 8 tips. Again, I could help out with this. I have a Skool community that you could join. You could ask all these questions. I have templates. I have all of these diagrams in there as well. I'm also going to link a video to my last video, which broke down what to do with a corrective action plan, and another video on what to do when you're trying to make your product compliant to sell in the US.